Russian forces have scaled back their infantry attacks around Avdiivka, as Moscow shifts the onslaught on the embattled Donetsk town to aerial assaults and artillery, Ukraine has said. Russia has somewhat reduced the number of infantry attacks it has launched on Avdiivka, but is actively conducting airstrikes and shelling our positions with artillery, Brigadier General Oleksandr Tarnovsky, commander of Ukraine's Tavria group of forces that covers Avdiivka, said in a statement on Wednesday. Over the previous 24 hours, Russia carried out 25 airstrikes and launched 937 artillery barrages across that section of the front line, Tarnovsky added. Infantry attacks have been a key part of Russia's strategy to encircle the town since it launched its offensive on Avdiivka on October 10th. But it has come at a high cost, with tens of thousands believed to have been killed or injured around the industrial town that sits on the doorstep of Donetsk city. Thousands of killed Russian soldiers. Nobody even took them away, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told The Economist in an article published on Monday, referring to the bitter fighting around Avdiivka. Russian forces lost 386 troops, an ammunition depot, 6 artillery systems, and 14 drones across the Tavria line on Tuesday, Tarnovsky said. Russia does not typically mention Avdiivka in its daily updates, but said on Tuesday that Ukraine lost 300 fighters and 3 tanks across the Donetsk stretch of the front line over the previous 24 hours. In late November, the British Defense Ministry said a spike in Russian losses in the last months of 2023 was largely down to the offensive on Avdiivka. But if Russia succeeds, it would be a significant strategic victory. Capturing Avdiivka would allow Moscow to greatly expand its logistical operations, jeopardize Ukraine's operations against Russian positions in Donetsk city, and could pave Russia's path to Kostiantynivka, a quite important stronghold, Serhiy Hrabsky, a military analyst and former Ukrainian army colonel, told Newsweek late last month. Kostiantynivka is then on the approach to the industrial zones around Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, still firmly under Ukrainian control. Tarnovsky told the BBC in late December that the situation around Avdiivka was constantly changing, and that Ukraine was always moving its units around in response to Russian operations. Ukraine is holding its defensive lines, with Russia pressing on with its offensive around Avdiivka, Kyiv's military said on Wednesday. Kyiv repelled 24 attacks by Moscow's troops along the Tavria front in the past day, the general staff said. Russian forces advanced northwest of Avdiivka in recent days, according to the latest analysis from the Institute for the Study of War, ISW, think tank. Russia has suffered huge human and material losses in Ukraine, and its army will emerge weakened from the conflict, a senior German military figure said in an interview published Friday. The interview came as Kyiv is fighting to maintain Western support for its war against Russian forces, which invaded in February 2022. You know that according to Western intelligence figures, 300,000 Russian soldiers have been killed or so seriously wounded that they can no longer be mobilized for the war. Christian Freuding, who oversees the German army's support for Kyiv, told the Süddeutsche Zeitung newspaper. Leaked U.S. intelligence earlier this month indicated that 315,000 Russian troops have been killed or wounded in Ukraine since the war began. The Russian losses of men and material are enormous, said Freuding, who is also a key advisor to German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius. Russia is also believed to have lost thousands of battle tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, he added. The Russian armed forces will emerge from this war weakened, both materially and in terms of personnel, he said. However, Russia is succeeding in continuing to recruit troops, including the use of prisoners, Freuding said. And, of course, we are seeing massive investments in the arms industry. President Vladimir Putin recently said that Moscow had voluntarily recruited 486,000 men for the army in 2023, and that efforts to build up the military next year would accelerate. And he promised to bolster Russia's defense capabilities, with the economy turned towards the war effort and the Kremlin shrugging off the impact of sweeping Western sanctions. The German general acknowledged that Russia was demonstrating a greater resilience than Western allies had expected at the start of the war. We perhaps did not see, or did not want to see, that they are in a position to continue to be supplied by allies, he said.
Веселого нового року, к***ти!